Hi, and welcome back to the channel. Today, another tip to help you save some money. Talking about auto insurance today. During these quarantine times, we know auto insurance carriers have offered a wide range of discounts for their customers for the months of May, June. July is to be seen, but this is more due to people driving less and these insurance companies seeing savings due to less accidents and less collisions from less driving. So we know a lot of people that were working in big cities or just having commutes every day are now working at home or working remotely or not going into the office as much as a result. We've slowly begun to reopen, but a lot of that virtual remote working crowd is still working from home for the time being. So maybe this would have been a lot better if you able to see this at the beginning of quarantine, but better late than never. And before we go into this video, I just want to say please reach out to your insurance agent or your insurance company for specific details on your coverage and your policy. This is more general information. It's very hard to compare auto insurance rates from person to person because the circumstances of everyone is different. Where they live, their credit score, their vehicles, driving history, license history, all that stuff is different. So if I say that I was able to save $1,000 moving from insurance company A to insurance company B, or if I was able to save a couple $100s from doing this, or that to my policy, it may not directly apply to you, but a lot of these general basics will apply, and it's worth a shot if you're looking to save some extra money. So with the assumption that a lot of people aren't commuting as much, the first thing you can do is talk to your agent or talk to your insurance company and see if they can re-rate your policy and your rates by reducing the miles driven. We usually provide a yearly estimate for how many miles we expect to drive within a year. And obviously, the more miles you drive, the more risk you're being exposed to, typically the higher rates you'll have. So now if you're just at home most of the time, not doing that commute every day, using your car maybe once every other week, quick grocery store run, you're obviously driving a lot less than before, and this should be a better risk for the insurance companies because you're not driving as much. So check with your agent and see if there's anything they can help you out either now, or maybe if you expect to stay home for the foreseeable future, maybe your job has been converted to remote work indefinitely, you can check and see if you can revise the mileage on your current plan or maybe at the next renewal. And the second thing, I think this would be more relevant for younger professionals or those living in a large city, living close to work. But for a lot of people that I know, since we don't have to be as close to our office anymore, we don't have to commute, some people are saving money on rent by moving back home or moving with friends who were a little bit further from work, but now we don't need to be as close. So if you're moving and you plan on staying there for an extended amount of time, and if this is going to be the primary garaging location for your vehicle moving on, you've gotten rid of that old lease, maybe you're living in a crowded downtown metropolitan area, we know that auto rates take into account your location. So generally speaking, living in a big city, having your car garaged there will give you higher rates than if you're out in more of a suburban area or a rural area where there's not as many accidents and there's less risks, less exposure for you to the insurance company, less things that could kind of go wrong. Think about if I'm driving in New York City, there are thousands of cars every day. I'm probably exposed to cars, pedestrians, bikers, all of that stuff. But if I'm living in a small town, I'm not really interacting with a lot of cars, pedestrians, or those hazards on the road. So the likelihood of me being involved in an accident or theft, my car getting broken into, is lower, which should result in lower premium. So since I had moved out, I was able to save a significant amount of money just based on where my car was located. So if you are doing a move, be sure to update your details, update your car usage details, your address details. I know auto insurance, a lot of the times we kind of set it and forget it. We'll pick out a quote, think this is probably fine, set it on auto pay, and just pay those premiums renewal after renewal and not really think of it. So As with any move, make sure you address everything, change of address, shutting down utilities, but also your insurance address as well. And another thing related to COVID, I mentioned in the previous video, but check to see if your insurance carrier is still giving out COVID-related discounts. A lot of them were doing discounts in May and June. So as we move on into July and the summer, so if we're still trying to stay home as much as possible and a lot of those commuters aren't commuting, offices aren't opening up quite yet, hopefully we can see those discounts being extended. And the next tip I have is to possibly consider raising your deductible or looking at your coverages and what exactly you need or don't need. So I mentioned in the earlier video, you definitely should not get rid of your car insurance completely if you're still using your vehicle. Loans will require insurance, and also state DMVs will require you to have some sort of insurance or financial responsibility associated with that vehicle. But taking a look at some of the optional vehicle level coverages, collision, comprehensive coverage, if you're really not using your vehicle all that much and expect to be out and about less, resulting in less exposure, maybe less chance of getting into an accident, revisit your deductibles. If they were at a pretty low level, consider increasing them. Maybe if you were at a $250 deductible collision comprehensive, raising that to $500 or $1,000. Comprehensive is also pretty cheap, so you might not save too much money with that. But collision coverage, if you're only using your car once a month or not really at all, you want to keep the comprehensive coverage in case it gets broken into or in case it's damaged from falling objects or something in your garage hits your car. Anything like that could happen at your house. But collision, if you're really not driving it, you may be able to drop that coverage completely for the time being and pick it back up at the next renewal or when you have to go out and about back to commuting. And also for households that have multiple cars, if you're all just in the same house now, you don't need to use multiple different vehicles to get out and about. Maybe consider consolidating into one car, making sure you have coverage on that car and the other car. Once again, eliminate that collision deductible if it's not going to be used much, if at all. And as always, I would recommend, if you have an agent, get on the phone with them, give them a call, and they should be able to give you some ideas or suggestions to review your policy and give you suggestions that apply to your situation. I think now there should be a lot of creative ways that agents can come up with and help you out with your policy and with your premiums. And this is definitely the time for them to bring their value to you, the customer, the policy holder. There are a ton of insurance agencies out there, and choose the one that works for you. Which brings me to my next point, shop around. Right? It seems that auto rates always tend to go up over time if you've stayed with the same carrier. And if they are going to raise your rates significantly, it's worth the look to shop around or to call up an agent to get you some quotes that you can compare. When looking at quotes, make sure that one, the coverage levels are the same as you currently have, or if you are adjusting them during this quarantine period, make sure that they're able to cover what you need. Because you can get very cheap insurance just getting minimum state limits for liability, but if you get into an accident or if your car gets broken into, that may not be covered. The second thing, make sure that you're working with a reputable carrier. Once again, a lot of the big names out there, State Farm, Allstate, Geico, Farmers, should be relatively safe from a financial aspect. So these larger insurance carriers should have solid reserves amounts. They have good financial standing, so if something happens, if an accident happens, they should be able to pay out on your claim. Whereas there are a ton of insurance companies out there, a lot that you've probably never heard of. So do your research and make sure that they have a good reputation and solid financials so that if you get into an accident, they're able to pay that out. They're not going to go bankrupt or they're not going to disappear on you when you try to call in that claim and try to get the payment that you need. And also, when you shop around, consider bundling. I know that's said a lot, but if you own a home, homeowners insurance, any watercraft, RVs, motorcycles, renters insurance, a lot of companies can provide discounts if you have more than one policy with them. So this could also be a good time to consolidate and save some extra money. And the last part, I always throw this in there, is to just improve your credit. Credit scores are used in some states in the United States to rate your auto insurance off of. So having a higher credit score could help you reduce your auto rates at the next renewal. And now during quarantine, this might be a great way for you to work on paying off your debts, saving up money, and decreasing that credit utilization, which is a large part of that credit score formula. So if you're able to save up, pay off your debts, get your credit in check, you may be able to see some savings on your insurance side during the next renewal. So this was the quick couple steps that I've used just in the past month to save some money on my auto insurance bill. Once again, a lot of these things are fairly basic and apply pretty much any time you're trying to look at your insurance or to try to save some money on your insurance, but especially now during the pandemic. And if you are trying to stay home as much as possible and reduce traveling or using your car, there could be a lot of creative ways or just things that you can think about and see if those make sense to you, or if you're willing to take on that additional risk to reduce the premiums and some of the money that you're paying every month if you're not going to be using your car as much as you normally would. And before I end this video, just want to remind you, if you do drop any coverage or increase your deductibles, make sure you're keeping an eye on it and you revisit your limits or your deductibles once you have to go back to work or once the commuting starts again. Like I said earlier, this is a very set and forget type of thing for many people. So although it's great that we're looking at it now, make sure you keep an eye on it so you have that coverage once you go back to work. You might get into an accident and realize, oh shoot, I forgot my deductible was at $2,000, forgot to change it back. So keep an eye on that. But other than that, let me know down in the comments if you have any questions. Like the video if you liked it, thought this was helpful. Stay safe out there. Be safe on the road. We'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Peace out.